Big news, my friends. The Atlanta Falcons are making headlines, and there's a lot to talk about. From contract negotiations to potential draft picks that could finally fix their struggling defense, we've got it all. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the bell icon. Stay updated with the latest Falcons news and never miss an update. Now, let's get into it. One big topic right now: Kaleb McGary. The Falcons don't have to worry about him leaving just yet, but his price tag could be going up soon. The Los Angeles Rams just handed left tackle Alaric Jackson a massive 3-year, $57 million deal with $35 million guaranteed. That contract just set a new market price, and while McGary plays on the other side of the line, it gives us a clue about what he might expect after the 2025 season. McGary had a solid 2024 season. He was strong in the run game, earning a 77.8 grade from Pro Football Focus. But pass protection, that's where he struggled a bit, with a 63.8 grade. He gave up 6 sacks and got flagged 3 times in 1,042 offensive snaps. Compare that to Jackson, who allowed just 3 sacks but had 7 penalties in 893 snaps. Now, here's why McGary's role is even more important now. If Michael Penix Jr. takes over as quarterback, he's left-handed. That means McGary will be protecting his blind side. His performance could make or break the Falcons' offensive line. And that's just the start. There's way more to talk about. Stay tuned as we break it all down. If Kaleb McGary wants a big payday like Alaric Jackson, he has one clear job: improve in pass protection. Right now, projections estimate his market value at around $51.8 million over 3 years, averaging $17.3 million per season. But here's the deal. If he performs well in 2025, he could cash in big. If not, the Falcons will face a tough decision next offseason. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something Falcons fans have been waiting for: the NFL Draft. Atlanta has a long history of avoiding 2 things in the first round: 1 edge rushers, 2 Georgia Bulldogs players. But could 2025 finally be the year they break both trends? According to Pro Football Network's Marco Enriquez, the Falcons are predicted to select Georgia's Michael Williams with the 15th overall pick. And honestly, this pick makes perfect sense. Atlanta's pass rush has been struggling for years. In fact, they haven't finished in the top half of the league in sacks since 2017, which, by the way, was the last time they made the playoffs. Coincidence? Probably not. That same year, they also drafted their last first-round edge rusher, Takk McKinley. Since then, the Falcons have spent their first-round picks on offensive playmakers: 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. In all that time, they've drafted just 1 defensive player in the first round. Williams could change everything. In 2024, he recorded 5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 21 total tackles. He also forced 2 fumbles and deflected 2 passes. At 6 feet 5 inches and 265 pounds, he has the size, length, and speed to be a nightmare for offensive linemen. Enriquez describes him as a player with all the physical tools but still in need of refining his technique, especially when it comes to engaging blockers and maintaining balance against stronger opponents. But here's the big question: will the Falcons actually pull the trigger on a Georgia player in the first round? Historically, they've avoided it. But is this the year they finally break the trend? Can you believe it? The Falcons haven't drafted a Georgia Bulldog in the first round since 1999. That's 25 years. The last time they did, they took Keith Brooking from Georgia Tech at number 12th overall. But let's be honest. If Michael Williams turns out to be a game-changer, fans won't care where he played in college. Now, here's the big question. Will Atlanta finally invest in a top-tier pass rusher? Or will they stick to their usual strategy and focus on offense early in the draft? And what about Kaleb McGary? Should the Falcons lock him down now, or wait and see how he performs in 2025? Meanwhile, there's a wild trade rumor making the rounds. According to Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport, the Falcons could trade for Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher Bryce Huff in exchange for a 2026 sixth-round pick.
Well,
Yeah, you heard that right. A future late-round pick for a guy who not long ago had double-digit sacks. So why would the Eagles let him go? Simple. He didn't live up to expectations in 2024. After signing a 3-year, $51.1 million contract, Huff managed just 2.5 sacks and was even left off the active roster for Philly's Super Bowl win. For the Eagles, this would be a salary dump. But for the Falcons, this could be a steal. Atlanta's pass rush has been a problem for years, and getting a guy who had 10 sacks in 2023 with the Jets, without giving up any 2025 draft picks, is a move worth considering. Plus, Huff has a connection to Atlanta's new defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich. They worked together in New York, meaning Huff already knows his system. That familiarity could make the transition seamless. Of course, Huff alone won't fix everything, but he could be a key piece of the puzzle that Atlanta desperately needs. And speaking of veteran Falcons, let's talk about Grady Jarrett. Reports are swirling, and we need to break it all down. Big news coming out of Atlanta. Grady Jarrett and the Falcons are expected to work out a new deal. There's no doubt Jarrett is the heart and soul of this defense, but when it comes to the business side of the NFL, things get tricky. Right now, Jarrett's cap hit for 2025 is over $20 million. If the Falcons were to release him, they'd free up $16 million in cap space. That's a tough reality for a fan favorite, but the league is all about balancing talent and finances. The best-case scenario, a contract restructure, lower his cap hit while keeping him in Atlanta, and according to Zach Klein from 92.9 The Game, both sides want this to happen. Jarrett wants to stay, and the Falcons want to keep him. The goal? A deal that ensures he retires as a Falcon. Let's just hope it's an extension rather than a pay cut. But that's not the only big rumor floating around. Kyle Pitts. For the first time, there's a real report suggesting that Atlanta is open to trading him. Zach Klein didn't hold back. He said the Falcons would 1,000% trade Pitts if the right offer came along. That's a huge statement. Remember, Pitts was supposed to revolutionize the tight end position when Atlanta drafted him 4th overall. But let's be honest, things haven't gone as planned. His rookie season showed flashes of elite potential, but since then, his numbers have dropped. In 2024, he caught just 47 passes for 602 yards and 4 touchdowns, and played only 62% of Atlanta's offensive snaps. So, the big question, should the Falcons really trade Kyle Pitts, or is this just smoke with no fire? Let's compare his numbers and break it all down. Now, here's something that raises eyebrows. Why isn't Kyle Pitts more involved? Take a look at this. Charlie Werner played 40% of the snaps last season, while Pitts, one of the most hyped tight ends in years, played just 62%. That's barely a difference, and it begs the question, why? If the Falcons move on from Pitts, they have a tough choice to make. Keep him for another season at under $1 million and hope for a turnaround. Trade him now while they can still get something valuable in return. But this isn't just about stats. It's about effort. According to Zach Klein, effort has been a real concern. And let's be honest, Falcons fans have noticed it too. Nobody questions Pitt's raw talent, but in the NFL, talent alone isn't enough. So, what do you think, Falcons fans? Should Atlanta go for the Bryce Huff trade and take a low-risk, high-reward shot at boosting the pass rush? Should they restructure Grady Jarrett's deal and keep a leader in the locker room long-term? And what about Kyle Pitts? Is it time to move on, or do you still believe he can turn things around?